It is 3:30, and I would like to call the Muskegon County Board of Commissioners organizational meeting to order. And first, I'd like everybody to stand for an invocation, and I've asked Commissioner Laring to give the invocation and remain standing for the pledge of allegiance.
Father God, we just come to you this afternoon and pray your blessing on this meeting. Father, your word says that fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, and I just pray that we would know your awesome power that's before us. Father, I just pray for this meeting today that you would set the leaders in place to guide this county through the difficult roads that are ahead. I pray that you give us wisdom, courage, and understanding. We ask all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Commissioner Laring. Commissioner Mahoney, would you lead us in the pledge of allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, could we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Foster.
Here.
Commissioner Hovey-Wright.
Excused.
Chairman Hughes.
Here.
Commissioner Laring.
Here.
Commissioner Mahoney.
Here.
Commissioner Nash.
Here.
Commissioner Skonig.
Here.
Commissioner Snyder.
Here.
Commissioner Wilkins.
Here.
8 present, 1 excused.
And we do have a quorum. Next is public comment on an agenda item. Is there anyone in the public that would like to give a comment on an agenda item? Would you please come to the podium, state your name, and limit your comments to 2 minutes or less?
It's different. Anyway, Andrew 1391 West Laketon Avenue, and I want to welcome you all back, and I'm looking forward to a good and prosperous year. I want to ask you that you take under consideration the changing of the time of the board meetings from 3:30 to 4:30. There's been a lot of comment on that, so I ask your consideration on that. Also, there is a decision you will have to make today. I'm referring to committee assignments, and I noted one commissioner who has not been given any subcommittee assignments, while others have one or more. The opportunity has been given to another commissioner who has held the position for a year. We request and want Commissioner Zach Lowring to now be given that same opportunity, given his experience and his record of accomplishments within 1 year for the betterment of Muskegon County. Holding back or denying a request from someone who desires to serve and in this capacity will not be looked on favorably by the people of Muskegon, voters of Muskegon County, and would require explanation other than another commissioner has held the position for a year. Commissioner Lowring has ruffled a few feathers, but sometimes feathers need to be ruffled. So I would ask that before you vote, reconsider your decision for the position of Vice Chair of Human Services. Thank you. And you all have done a good job, not just Zach, okay?
Larry Hausman, Norton Shores. Pretty much the same thing as what Ann just said. Zach is more than qualified to do a whole lot more than he's doing, but I'm afraid that sometimes when you rock the boat, I hate to call it politics, but that's what I'm seeing. He's not getting the chance to. He represents probably 50% of the people in this county, conservative people, and he's like the HHC. He's more than qualified to be on that committee. I mean, he's got a lot of. There's a lot of reasons why, but I hate to see politics play a role in that. I've seen it happen in the government, upper government level. I'm seeing it happen here, I believe. So the same thing with moving the meeting time. I know a lot of people that would come if they could come later. 3:30 is a bad time for the majority of people to come to a meeting. I'd like to see it move later. I know it's going to cost a couple of dollars for overtime or whatever, but I know other counties, other municipalities within our area have them later at night. I think the more people we have here, citizens, the better off we are as far as good government. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hi, Jeremy Hooker, 3110 Pinewood Lane. I'd also like to state that I think that the meetings moved to a later time would help a lot of folks get to these meetings. Also, I'd like to say that Zach Laring on the Health Department Board, I would support that. I do support that. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, we will move on. Number 6 on our agenda is a resolution authorizing adoption of the rules of Muskegon County Board of Commissioners for 2020. I will entertain a motion.
So moved. Support.
I have a motion and support. Any comments, questions, or concerns? Seeing none. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Laring,
Yes.
Commissioner Mahoney,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Commissioner Skolnick,
Yes.
Commissioner Snyder,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilkins, Commissioner Foster,
Yes.
Chairman Hughes.
Yes,
8 yes.
that motion carries. Next on the agenda is election of vice chair. I will open the nominations for vice chair of the Muskegon County Board of Commissioners.
I'd like to nominate Gary Foster.
We have a nomination and support. Are there any other nominations? Any other nominations? Any other nominations? I will entertain a motion to close the nominations and elect Commissioner Foster with a unanimous vote. Seeing that, we will ask for a roll call.
Commissioner Mahoney,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Commissioner Skolnick,
Yes.
Commissioner Snyder,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilkins, Commissioner Foster,
Yes.
Commissioner Laring,
Yes.
Chairman Hughes.
Yes,
8 yes.
that motion carries. Would you please stand, and the clerk will be happy to swear you in as vice chair.
I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of this state,
and the Constitution of this state,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the office of
of the office of
Muskegon County Board of Commissioners Vice Chair,
Muskegon County Board of Commissioners Vice Chair,
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my abilities.
Congratulations. If you'll just quickly sign, we'll get you back to work. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Congratulations, Commissioner Foster.
Thank you.
Moving on to number 9 is the adoption of the 2020 calendar. You all have that in front of you.
So moved.
Support.
We have a motion and support. Any comments, questions, or concerns? Seeing none, do I need a roll call? Madam Clerk?
Do a voice.
I will have a voice vote. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. That motion is carried. Next is the adoption of the Administrative Settlement Authority, which will remain the same as it has in the past few years.
So moved.
We have a motion and support. Motion by Commissioner Mahoney, second by Commissioner Wilkins.
Can we have some debate about this?
Yes. I'm going to open that right now. Go right ahead.
Thank you. So it's the same policy. We're renewing the same policy we've had.
Yes.
So what happens to these settlements that come before the administrator? How do we find out about them if they're not?
Very seldom does a situation arise that goes before the administrator. Most of them come before the board. That would mostly be in an emergency situation. For example, we had a situation one time where there was an emergency out at one of the parks and there was not a phone available. He immediately got a phone available out in the park so that could happen, and then immediately brings that back to us. And I will actually defer that to Commissioner Mahoney because he's more familiar with that probably than I am. I know that happened when you were chair. So.
Yeah, if there's an expenditure by the administrator that hasn't come through here, he is obligated within a certain period of time to bring it back before us. But he has a certain amount of leeway to handle emergencies.
Yeah. And as a general rule, he will contact the board chair immediately.
So I guess, so these issues will come then on the administrator's report or the chairman's report?
Either one, the very next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair.
And yes,
there's the next item is the administrator's spending authority.
Yeah, I think we were talking
We're
about
on
two
the
different
settlement.
things.
I think maybe we might have confused that a little bit, Zach.
Settlement.
The settlement authority is, Beth, you want to, I'll let Beth explain that.
It's settlement of like lawsuits
Legal
or
lawsuits,
claims
right.
against the
That's what I thought.
Two different things.
I don't think there's been one.
not
I don't think so.
No, I don't remember
No.
one.
I don't
Not that.
remember one.
brought to the board.
We're talking about item 10, the settlement authority.
Correct.
Which is different than the administrator's spending authority.
Right. No,
That's-
that's what I was saying.
okay.
So I was thinking the settlement authority was lawsuit that would
Yes.
come.
Yes,
Yes.
you're right, Zach. I was looking at the wrong one. So
Okay. So then, yes, thank you. I would like an explanation of that. So my concern is that there are lawsuits that the county is involved in that is not coming back before the commissioners, and I just want to know the process. And this is the current policy, is what we're.
yes, it is
Okay.
the current policy. I don't ever, Commissioner Nash.
I was just going to say that, what Commissioner Mahoney was describing was the second settlement was the spending authority.
Okay.
When it comes to the settlement authority, this is what we have in place as a policy, but we really never really entertained it. But typically most lawsuits that we have usually are higher income before us. So we really haven't had the experience of this settlement authority being used because it's never been that low.
And Madam Chair, doesn't this also cover employees when they have a settlement, when they're coming back? Am I correct, Beth? Under this, doesn't
Like
it
a
give him the
workers'
power
comp?
to settle?
Like if it's a workers' comp
Correct.
claim or something.
Yes.
Yes, those types of
Mhm.
situations.
Madam Chair, if I
Yes.
could, it also says, if the recommendation is approved, the settlement will be reported to all of the members of the County Board of Commissioners within 30 days. So we would always know. I don't think there's ever been one in all my
I
years.
don't remember
Right.
one either.
Not a settlement like that.
Not a settlement.
I guess my concern is what that. I hate to pick this apart and take it.
No, go
or
right ahead.
My concern is that reporting to the board can be buried in a mountain of documentation, and I would like it brought. If there's a suit against the county, I don't want it buried in a fine detail that we paid some line item in a. You know what I'm saying? My
I
suggestion
know just exactly
is
what you're saying.
it should come back to the board in the
Under the
administrator's.
administrator's policy at the very next opportunity.
So
Would
I
you-
don't know if we need to amend that policy, but
I
can
don't
we?
think that would be a problem to amend that to include, be included in the administrator's report at the very next opportunity.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
the spending authority usually gets discussed before we accept it.
Yep.
And then I think that will take care of that problem.
I think it was, I was thinking spending authority and it was actually settlement authority. So we'll go ahead with, do we have a second on the amendment to have the administrator have any decisions he made as a second?
Had a
come
motion
back
and a
with it?
second,
We had a
correct?
motion and a second for
On
Zach's
the
report.
settlement, not on the, he's making that as official
Well,
motion.
No, we're on the settlement authority still.
We're on settlement authority.
So, Madam Chair,
Yes.
this was on the settlement, but then you made a motion to amend it, to
Yes.
have it come at the very next opportunity.
Yes.
So are you asking?
Support.
Yeah, we have support for that. Okay. Are there any other questions on the settlement authority?
So we're voting on the amendment,
We're
correct?
voting, yeah, to the amendment.
What
Um,
does the amendment provide?
That the administrator will let us know at the very next opportunity what has happened.
Under the administrator's report at the full board meeting.
Well, it's already provided that he would notify us within 30 days, so.
I think
Yes,
I
Commissioner.
think
Mahoney.
Commissioner Laring's concern was with the volume of material we get. Sometimes if it's a small amount, we wouldn't see it, even though it was reported directly. So, so if a settlement came in terms of an employee, $500 or whatever, that would be a separate accounting item.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
all right.
And I
Commissioner
guess,
don't wanna
I guess
grab your
the other benefit is that if it could be done sooner than 30 days, and that's what the motion will
Right.
allow.
Mhm. Any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. That motion is carried. Next is the adoption of the administrative spending authority, which I confused in the first place.
So move.
Support.
We have a motion and support. Any comments, questions, or concerns? This is also the way it was before. Zach, did you have a question?
No, I think you've explained it already, and it's the same thing. It would come back up and you
Yes.
sign these, so
Mhm.
thank you.
Since that is involving money, let's have a roll call, please, Madam Clerk. Thank you.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Commissioner Skolnick.
Yes.
Commissioner Snyder,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilkins.
Yes.
Vice Chair Foster.
Yes.
Commissioner Laring,
Yes.
Commissioner Mahoney,
Yes.
Chairman Hughes.
Yes,
8 yes.
and that motion carries. Next on our agenda is the 2020 committee assignments, chair and vice chair appointments. All of the appointments have remained the same. My recommendation, except the foreign trade zone is available if somebody is interested in that. Commissioner Hovey Wright has decided she did not want to serve on that. Otherwise, the recommendations from the directors and the committees were to remain the same, and that is my recommendation. Do I have a motion to support?
So moved.
Support.
We have a motion and support. Any comments, questions, or concerns?
Madam Chair, I'd like to make an amendment to nominate myself for the Health and Human Services Committee.
They're not nominations, it's my recommendation. Thank you. We have a motion and support. Any other comments, questions, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Oppose the same? That motion is carried.
Madam Chair, I would like to volunteer for the Foreign Trade Zone appointment.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Snyder. It makes my life very easy. Thank you, sir. Next is the 2020 Commissioner Liaison appointments, and I just handled that. The only one I had available left was the Foreign Trade Zone, and Commissioner Snyder has solved that situation. Is there, now is the time for public comment? Is there any public comment?
Was that list provided? I didn't see it in the packet.
Yes, it was emailed to you in, but I have one right here. You can,
Did those committee appointments change?
no, none
Okay.
of them changed.
We think
They
it's
all
safe to
remain the same. Public comment, is there any public comment? We have, wait. I already, 13? I already covered that. Yep. Yes, ma'am. Would you state your name and limit your comments to 2 minutes?
Yes. My name is Jen Greensley, and I live on Ashley Lane. I am here also in support of changing the meetings to a later time, but also because I have a daughter who worked with refugee resettlement, and I know that's a subject that's coming up here in Western Michigan. Who builds a house without counting the cost? Do any of you really realize what's involved in refugee resettlement? It may sound like a great idea, and it may sound like, oh, we're going to help a lot of people, but you need to count the cost. I have a daughter who worked in Chicago with this. We saw her having to run to the airport to pick up refugees at midnight. We saw her scrounging around trying to find housing because they didn't have it lined up. Housing for these people. We saw her having to deal with people to take them to the Social Security office so they could get their Social Security card. We found her having to run to their apartments to teach them how to use a stove because they came from so many different countries. They had no clue about how to live the American life. We saw her having people that would come to her door saying, we need more money, we need more money. I'm sorry, Uncle Sam is not Santa Claus. They have to be taught. They have to have ESL classes. They have to be taught how to get a job. We don't want them to come to and say, welfare killed my mother. Welfare killed us, because we learned how to receive and become dependent, and they weren't taught the skills on how to survive and live. I heard of families that said, hey, before we had welfare, we had a job, we were working, we were getting by, we took pride in what we did. But when welfare came in, they became very dependent. My daughter got burnt out. She could not keep up with her caseload. They kept bringing more and more. And it's like, how do you keep up with your caseload?
Thank you for your comments.
Is my time up?
It is.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So please consider
Anyone
what
else?
you need to find out.
Jim Riley, Norton Shores. I'd also like to comment on the refugee resettlement. It was brought up a few weeks ago, and there was some folks that weren't familiar with it. Hopefully, you've done a little homework and found out what it's all about. The governor has decided that the state can accept, and I believe the counties also can accept or opt out. I'm not exactly sure what the mechanism is. It sounds like a great idea. I've done a lot of study on this. The problem is, as the lady who just said, it is expensive. And given that no one seemed to know anything about it at the last meeting when it was brought up, however you decide to go ahead in accepting refugees within the county, you must do your homework. You have a responsibility to do that, to find out what the costs are and what the additional burden would be on the social services that you, of course, are involved in the funding of. So educate yourself about it. It's somewhat complex, but that's your responsibility, and you have access to that information. But it is not a freebie. It's not a nice thing that just comes along and there's no cost to it. There's a very significant cost to the community, and just check it out, and then decide how you're going to pay for it. I think that's the important thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
My name is Mary Lou Nitz. I live at 1361 Anna Road in North Muskegon. And yeah, about the welcoming community, I don't think Muskegon can handle it anymore. We got so many people that are unemployed, and our welfare system is so overloaded. It's just terrible, and it's just more taken out of the hands that we could already be helping. And I also want you to opt out of messing with our Second Amendment. Everybody needs to leave our Second Amendment alone. It's our constitutional right to bear arms, and we should be able to keep them.
Nola Twining, Dalton Township. I also would like the meetings to start at 4:30 as opposed to 3:30. I have to make arrangements for my disabled daughter for care because of the hour that it is. I'm trying to get out of work and get here. You know, because my daughter is in Mocha 3 days out of the week, and then she has community supported living services 2 days out of the week, that is a burden on our community, and I feel awful that that has to happen. But as a single mom, I don't have any other options, you know. And so when I'm seeing that Health West owes Muskegon County X amount of millions of dollars, I'm understanding, and now we're going to try to bring people from another country that don't understand anything about American ways. How are they really going to contribute to support our land? You know, the Second Amendment rights, I agree with a gun owner, but man, just I don't think it's right to be messing, and I think we should opt out or sanctuary city for Second Amendment, you know. So anyways, God bless you all for what you're doing. You know, we really want to trust you that you do have the citizens of Muskegon County at heart at best, because that is who you are serving, is the residents of Muskegon County as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, we will move on. Are there any comments from the board?
I only have one, ma'am.
Yes.
I'd just like to thank the board for their trust as vice chair again. Thank you.
Anyone else? Moving on, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.